self-love, right? V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, loving another person like you love yourself. I think that the real question and the real perspective we have to have is really knowing ourselves very well. Like when a person is, there's a strong sense of self and I really know myself. And I'm giving from a place where there's me and there's them. And there's awareness around, am I always doing this? Is this a pattern that I always do? And because if we're always faking it till we're making it, type of a thing, and that's our programming, and like we have to be givers, we have to give, and so fake it till you make it, and you'll feel energized after. When a person is consistently doing from that place, that's really when they really deplete themselves in there. And, sometimes we have to, like I would say as a mother, if I would live from this place of like always just saying, no, I don't feel like it, you can't live that. Like, that's not obviously the barometer. But if a person really has to know themselves and really think about, be very present to their selves and their energy, their intention, because very often when we really sit with ourselves with giving, and we're going to get to this more when we talk about what is this codependent giving, which is this unhealthy or unrectified giving, the giving of Ishmael, it's coming very often from a place where I don't feel worthy, I don't feel valuable, I don't feel lovable, I don't feel good. So I'm going to constantly be giving to others to fill myself up. So it's really not about the other then, it's really about the self, of feeling worthy and valuable myself. And it's really not about the person that I'm giving to. So I think that's where it's what we're having now. There's no like black or white answers to these questions. I'm opening up a lot of perspectives. It's kind of like it's really a conversation because we're opening up a lot of different perspectives. And it's like, we speak about this a lot. It's so important to be authentically connected to yourself. And I think that's what we're doing in here, and like own your light. It's called own your light, right? It's like not just like own light or own like the light of God. It's like really owning our very individual connection to our authentic connection to ourselves. Because the more we're authentically connected to ourselves, the more we're really connected to the subtleties. It's very subtle. And it takes years to really learn yourself, like understand your patterns, understands your protectors and defense mechanisms, to really understand like, wow, where is this coming from? Am I really faking it till I make it, or am I really just faking myself and just like feeling bad about myself and unworthy, so I'm giving all the time from that place? It's very subtle, and that's why this is not like a class of like, here's one answer. It's really more about opening up a conversation and opening up perspective. So what does it also say? Another thing about Ishmael. Ishmael, actually it says about him that he had half of a bris, half of a circumcision. Like even today, the Arabs as a culture, they are circumcised, but they're circumcised, I think, at the age of 13. It's not the same circumcision that we have, but they have actually half of the circumcision. And what is the idea specifically of the circumcision, which was literally that brit, that covenant that God made with the Jewish people, is that in our essence, in our core, and this is, I think we speak about this in every single class, right? We're whole, we're pure, we're godly. Our natural state, again, is this open heart, of flow, of connection to our essence, to our inner wellspring. But what happens is, because of life and things that we go through, like children are born in that state. That's how everyone is born. But because, again, of things that we go through as children and trauma that we experience in our life and just living as a soul in a body, we have a lot of layers. We were saying last week, a lot of protectors that go over our heart, a lot of defense mechanisms that protect our heart from maybe not receiving love or receiving love and not feeling worthy of the love. And there's layers and layers and layers and layers around our hearts. Now it says that, what does it say when Mashiach comes? It says when Mashiach comes, Umal Hashem et levavchem ve'et levav zarichem, that God is going to perform a circumcision around our hearts. In other words, God's going to literally be removing all the layers, the insecurities, and the sadness, and the protections, or the protectors, and the defense mechanisms from around our hearts, so that when Mashiach comes, we're going to be living from this open-hearted place of flow. But but what is our job now? What are we doing? What is this work that we're doing here together, really? And all this healing work that's happening in the world is we're really peeling off layers, right? Peeling off layers of anger, peeling off layers of fear, peeling off layers of all the suppressed emotions until we get to the core of who we are. So what is the idea really of Yishmael having half of a bris? It's like there's still a lot of protectors and defense mechanisms and suppression that is protecting the essence. So what happens when we're living from that place? We look outside of ourselves to get ourselves filled up because we're not an open vessel to be filled from God, from our essence. So we're looking, there's this sense of like codependency of like, I'm going outside of myself. I'm going out, I'm going to give to others. I'm going to people please. I'm going to take care of people and make people like me and make myself lovable because maybe I don't feel lovable. So that's this idea, this half of the bris, like, because when we're covered, when there's so much coverings over our heart and we're not connected to our essence, and then we're giving and we're looking at outside of ourselves to fill ourselves up instead of coming from that place of our inner well springs, of being filled from ourself, from our essence, from our godly souls, our godly essence of who we are. So, and then again, we feel depleted, we feel angry and resentful. And that's a cycle that many people live with for their life. Many, many people, many people, and especially women, we spoke about that last week, that martyr syndrome, that live from that place. Now, I think what we were speaking about before, it takes a lot of authentic connection to yourself. And a lot of, I would love to say, I guess the word is emotional honesty, a lot of emotional honesty to know, can I give? Should I give? Is this my responsibility? Is this not my responsibility? So I want to say, if you start feeling you're questioning, should I give or should I not give? Or you feel resentful, right? Like you were saying, you're giving to someone, they're not receiving it. They're not receiving it. They're just takers. They're not receiving the love. They're not receiving the generosity of our contribution. So I think there's two main questions, or three main questions really, that we want to ask ourselves. So the first thing is, like what we were saying, am I giving and giving and giving, and my battery is on empty? And maybe I don't have a sense of self, right? So maybe it just requires like, okay, let me just take care of myself more, give myself more time to fill myself up, give myself more time to do things that I enjoy, that bring me joy, that bring me pleasure. We've spoken a lot about that because that connects us more to our essence. It connects us more to that flowing place within ourselves. And maybe that's just what we need.